Hi everybody, welcome to Fast Fun Friday number 9. Today I want to show you a technique that I saw someone else do and I can't remember who it was. I'm sure it's not new, but I have been searching for a very long time for an image transfer process, A, that worked, and B, that did not use laser prints or photocopies, because I don't know about you, but I don't have a laser printer, and when I want to create, I don't want to have to stop and run to town to get a laser copy made. So I have an inkjet printer and I wanted to find a way to do a decent image transfer using an inkjet print. So I think I found it, and thank you to whoever it was that told me about this. I don't remember, but I did this one with gesso, and it's crisp, and it was easy, and it was fast, and it worked, and I didn't remember to reverse the image because it has writing on it, so it's backwards, but it's okay. This can just be in the background, but I thought I would show you the process. If you already are doing this or already knew about it, then come back next week for a different video. But I think there's enough people out there who, like me, would like to do a decent image transfer with an inkjet printout. So here we go. And it's just done with gesso. So I started this one without anything on the page. This is a Dylusions journal, so this is just like a smooth Bristol kind of heavyweight paper. So this will be an experiment, because after I finished this, I went over this whole page with clear gesso. So it will be interesting to see if that affects anything. I don't think it will, because, and I don't know if this might work with clear gesso. Maybe we'll try that too. But I did this one with white gesso, and you need a decent amount. So I'm just going to put some out here and get it spread out on the page. You want it fairly even and fairly thick, like not globby thick, but not like you can see through to the page thin either. Just kind of a moderately thick, if that makes any sense, coat of gesso. I'm just going to squeeze out what's on there. Okay, now I'm using some images from my new collage packs. I'm going to try this guy. That came from the pack with the vintage papers. I think I showed you this pack last week, but I cut a couple images from the one sheet. So I just cut it out. It's going to go face down in the gesso. And once you're fairly sure it's not going to move, then you just want to make sure that all parts of the image that you want transferred are making good contact with the gesso. And I probably didn't need to do that whole big area. Had I cut it out in a square or a rectangle, then I would have had a better idea of the size I was going to need, but I fussy cutted him. Unfortunately, gesso does dry pretty fast. Try not to get gesso on the image itself, because it will make it more difficult to. We're still going to rub the paper off like most of the other image transfer techniques require, but if you have that gesso on there, then you end up having to rub through the gesso, and that's not ideal. I'm actually going to take some of it off from around the image where I don't really need it. It'll dry faster. Alright, now I'm going to dry it with the heat tool, now that I have gesso all over my hand. Par for the course, right? you want to make sure that it is completely dry, fully dry. Probably best to just, you know, walk away from it for a couple of hours or do it in the evening and then come back to it the next day. But on this one, I just did it with the heat tool for quite a while to make sure that it was really good and dry, and it worked fine. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll speed this up because I'm going to dry it for quite a while, both sides of the page. Okay, it's dry. Yep, it's dry. So just like with most other transfer techniques, you want to give it a good healthy spritz of water and just give it a couple of seconds to loosen up and start to dissolve the paper. That's the goal. And I found when I did this one, just by accident, that once I got it going, a baby wipe, I don't know if it's the fiber structure of the baby wipe or what it is, but it like grabbed that backing paper and really helped it come off easily. So once you think the water has started to work, just start rubbing. Gentle pressure. You don't want to rub off the image, just the paper from the back. And if you feel like you need more water, add more water. I'm sure it's probably, this was just regular old inkjet printer paper, normal computer printer paper, nothing special. So let's try the baby wipe here and see how it works. See, it like knots up on that baby wipe and sticks to it. And it'll end up rubbing, see, just like in a big knotty glob on there. You don't end up rubbing your fingerprints off, trying to get the paper off. I think I need a little more water on these edges. No, that was a big piece right there that all came off at once. But once you get down to, see, I just pulled that off. It's right there. Once you get the paper backing off, probably a better idea to go with your fingers rather than the baby wipe, because it's almost like a scrubber pad, and you do run the risk of taking some of that image off. But I mean, see, it was fast. I rubbed too hard right there. That's my fault. A couple places where the image is missing. But if you go gently, it really works quite well. And you get, I just put this plastic under here so that I didn't get my other journal pages wet. And if you didn't want that rectangle of white gesso behind him, I mean, obviously I'm going to do more. If I were doing this like for a regular project, I would be doing it with the intent of doing more on top of it. But this is just to kind of give you an idea or show you how well it works and how fast it is. Little bits of paper still hanging on there. That can come off. I'm just at this point rubbing really gently just to kind of get a little more of that paper off of there. But for my intents and purposes, this is perfect. I don't need anything other than what I already have. Nothing special. And it works well. If you're looking for a super duper crisp image, might not be the technique to use. If you don't mind a little image loss or a little grunge. And it's going to depend on your image, it's going to depend on the paper you use to print it on, all of that. So I am going to try one with clear gesso. I didn't do this before, so I don't know what we'll get, but let's try it. Let me get this white gesso out of my brush. We will see if it works with clear gesso, which would be ideal because then you wouldn't have to worry about, I mean, I don't know why it wouldn't, because what it's working with is the polymers or whatever in the gesso, not the pigment, so it's harder to see if you have enough on there. And I want to go up onto where I already transferred that label and see if I can go on top of a piece that's already, let me make sure there's enough underneath there. Okay, and then rub it down. Whoop. And don't pick it back up. I need to get that in the gesso. And you could probably use a brayer or a credit card or lid to a jar. Being careful again not to get too much gesso actually onto the back of the paper. I'm sorry if my head's in the shot. I moved my camera down a lot. Actually, it's my iPad camera, so I kept bumping my head on it because I just wasn't used to it being down that low, but I think you get a better look at what's going on. I'm not sure I got it. The edges down. Okay. And again, I'm just going to wipe some of the excess off from around it. Try not to get it on it. And dry it. All right. And dry it. Okay, a word of caution, if you use a heat tool, which does get really, really hot, keep it a good, now 6 inches maybe, away from the surface of the page, because it can bubble that gesso. You don't want that to happen. So, and it can melt your plastic. Melted my plastic bag right here, so be careful of that. Like I said, it probably will work better if you just let it sit overnight or use a hair dryer instead of a heat gun. It doesn't get as hot. I'm just spreading that water over the image. You can see a lot of it just starts to show up right away as soon as you put the water on it. And I think that's true of most of the image transfer techniques. I'm not putting any pressure right now. I'm just moving the water around, trying to get it to soak into the paper. I'm going to put a little more on. Just slight pressure. Take your time. And like I said, I'm sure 99% of you have done image transfers of some type before. So the process is exactly the same. It's just the materials that are different. Just going to very gently get those paper bits off of there with a baby wipe, but stop rubbing. So, fortunately my floor needs to be cleaned anyway, so this is all going on the floor. So there you go. Fast Fun Friday number 9. You can transfer a inkjet print using white gesso or clear gesso. It works over an untreated page and over a page that has clear gesso dried already on it in the background. So I hope you learned something. If you've already done this before, why didn't you tell me? Well, I'm glad somebody did, even though I can't remember who it was. But they turned out looking pretty good. I hope I'm holding this in the right place. Now that my camera's in a different place, it is lower, so now I can kind of see what I'm showing you, where before I couldn't. Okay. So, if you like this video, if you learned something, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'd really appreciate it if you did that. I try to bring you valuable videos at least once or twice a week. Fridays is Fast Fun Friday, so I try to keep those videos short to 15 minutes or less, where some of the process videos do take a little bit longer. So give it a thumbs up, and in the meantime, go make some art. Bye. Now, what you've all been waiting for, who won the digital collage packs? The winner is, drum roll, Vivian Axon. Vivian, thanks for subscribing and watching my videos. If you will send me an email or direct message me, I will send you the links so that you can download those collage packs and have fun with the images. Okay, till next time, you guys.